Okay, so here today with us, we have Shannon Thomas from Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. She is a senior vocational rehabilitation counselor and was awarded her master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from the University of Kentucky and is a certified rehabilitation counselor. She has worked for OOD for 8 years and has over 15 years experience working in social services and vocational rehabilitation. Shannon especially enjoys working with high school students and young adults to help them reach their unique educational and career goals. In her free time, Shannon has been focused on planning her upcoming wedding, spending time with family and friends, and spoiling her beloved cat Gus Gus. So, without further ado, I will kick it off to Shannon and I will go ahead and share my screen here.
Thanks, Teresa.
Sure.
That made me laugh. I forgot that I included the part about Gus Gus.
Yes.
It's nice to meet you all. Thank you so much for having me. I am going to talk about services through opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities. I don't know how many of you are already familiar with our agency, but hopefully I can give you a good rundown of who we are, what we do, and the services and supports that yourself or a family member might benefit from. And then I got some of the questions ahead of time, and thank you for those. I will try to answer most of those as I go through the presentation, and then we'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end as well. So our agency is split up into two different bureaus. We're a state agency. First bureau is vocational rehabilitation. That's the one I work for. We also have the Bureau of Services for the Visually Impaired, and I'll talk about that a bit more later. Hey, that's me. Teresa already gave me a very nice introduction, but I have been with the agency for 8 years, and I've been at the Akron office for 2 years. You can go ahead and skip to the next one. Thanks. So our mission is to empower Ohioans with disabilities through employment, disability determinations, and independence. You can go to the next one. So our agency was created in 1970, and we serve Ohioans with disabilities in all 88 counties. We have several offices scattered throughout the state. We have a director that's appointed by our governor and an OOD council that consists of 15 members. And then these are the four divisions of the agency. So the two main ones I've already mentioned. And then we also have Division of Employment and Innovation Services and Disability Determination. I'm not going to go through all of these numbers, but it's a good little FYI. So in our last fiscal year, we served over 34,000 individuals with disabilities. And average time from application to closure with employment is 28 months. A lot of the individuals that we serve are teenagers or college students, and so they can have much longer cases, which is why some of the cases are open for so long. And the average wage of individuals who received our services were $14.44 an hour. Okay, so the different phases of a VR case, it starts with application.
Hey, Mom.
So in order to apply,
Oh, sorry.
and oh, that's okay. I will go over it a little bit more in detail later, but anybody can apply for services. It is an eligibility program, so we make an eligibility determination. We try to make that within 30 days of opening a case. And then we have 90 days to create a plan for employment. And usually it doesn't take quite that long. Once we have somebody in a plan, then they are actively receiving services. And our goal is to close the person's case once they have found employment that they're comfortable with, that they're happy with, and they no longer need any services or supports from us to continue employment. You can go to the next one. Okay, so application. There's many ways that somebody could apply for services. You could call our main office. That for most of the people in this area, it would be the Akron office. You could apply on paper, which could be sent through an email, our Northeast Medical Fax, which is there, or you could apply online. So oodworks.com is a way to refer yourself or somebody else for our services. Any of those ways is fine. I think if people are wanting to get additional information and talk to somebody, probably calling is the best option. But our website has a lot of really good information as well. We aim to hold an intake appointment for you within 30 days. We want to serve you as quickly as possible. And then if you have the medical records we need, we can make an eligibility determination pretty quickly, or we can refer for an assessment. So let's say somebody has a suspected disability, like maybe a learning disability, but they've not been diagnosed. We can refer them for an assessment in order to make that eligibility determination. Typically, people are aware of a diagnosis. That one doesn't come up as often, but we can do assessments to help with that if needed. You can go to the next one. Okay, so like I mentioned, our program is eligibility based, and in order to be eligible for services, someone has to meet these 4 criteria. They have to have a physical, cognitive, or mental disability, and that could be many different things. That disability must make it hard for them to either get or keep employment. For students who've not worked, we look at how has it affected them at school and how might that affect them in the future getting work. The individual has to be able to benefit, so they have to be able to work in some capacity, and they have to need our services in order to prepare for or maintain employment. You can go to the next one. Okay, so once somebody's eligible, then we're looking at creating a plan for services for them. This is something that you and your counselor would work together to create. Everybody's plan is different. It really depends on what the individual's goals are for themselves, what services and supports they're going to need in order to be employed in the community, and what services and supports maybe they're already getting. Some people are, maybe they've already had some job experience that might put them in a different situation than a younger student who has not worked before. So we look at all of those different things to determine what services and supports might be helpful to that person. It also defines their job goal. We look at timelines for how long this job goal is going to take to reach. We work with you to choose service providers for the different services you might receive. And we talk about, it also outlines the costs of services and your responsibility as the individual receiving those services. And then once you're in plan and let's say you're working to get a job, you and your counselor meet pretty regularly to monitor your progress and make sure that we're moving on the right track to help you reach your employment goals. Okay, so this is the big piece of all of our services. We can provide lots of different things, again, depending on individual need. Some of those are occupational or vocational training. So maybe somebody wants to go to a training program outside of high school, like a cosmetology program. Maybe they want to go to a trade school, something like that. We can assist with paying for tuition, books, those types of things for those types of schools. We also help with college and university training. I have several students on my caseload that are in college. So I've got some people at Kent and the University of Akron, and we are helping to support them as far as tuition and books, fees, different supplies they might need. We can also help with internships while they're in school, so that they're getting that on-the-job work experience. Job seeking skills training is another service. That's where we might help somebody practice creating a resume, filling out applications, help them with their interviewing skills, um, how to follow up on job interviews, how to talk with employers, things like that. And then job search and placement assistance, related to the job seeking skills training, is actually looking for the job. So if you're looking for a position and you're working with one of our providers, then they would be aware of your goals, what services you might need to help you be successful at work, and they would help you look for a position in a field that makes sense for you. On the job supports, that's typically job coaching. So somebody that could go with a participant to help them learn the job while they're actually on the job. So this is something we coordinate with employers. And it's a really nice way to learn a new position. Rehabilitation technology can look like special screens or like screen readers for individual who might have visual impairments. And those can really, that's a whole wide range of services that we can assist with. Summer Youth Career Experience, that is a very popular program where youth get to work in the community with a job coach in the summer. They do get paid for that experience, and it gives us great information about what the individual enjoys, what they want to do, what they definitely don't want to do in the future. And they get that work experience with the help of a job coach. And then pre-employment transition services. Um, these are workshops where students can learn more about the different aspects of work. So they can learn about self-advocacy. They can learn more about different post-secondary opportunities. So learning more about training outside of high school. They can learn about appropriate work behaviors. They can sometimes do like job shadowing to learn more about the positions they want to do when they graduate. And then career exploration. So really diving deep into different careers that they might be interested in once they graduate as well. Okay, you can go to the next one. Thanks. Okay, so in addition to the services that we already reviewed, we also have supported employment services. These are typically for individuals that have a developmental disability. So often these are folks that are working with the Board of DD. We work a lot with Summit County, Medina County, and Portage County. Those are the counties that our office services. So these would be the people that might need the most support in order to be working successfully in the community. Competitive integrated employment has not historically occurred for this individual. By competitive integrated employment, I mean competitive in that anybody could apply for this job and they would get paid the same. So like anybody could apply for a job at Target, and integrated in that some of their coworkers might have disabilities, but some of them might not. So working in that integrated in the community. Another reason that they might need supported employment services is if employment has been
no food in your bedroom
or interrupted because of a
Have.
significant disability.
Evan.
Okay, you can go to the next slide.
Nope.
Okay, so case closure. This cases can be open for quite a while if you start young. So our services can start for individuals as young as 14 years old. So if you started at that age, and let's say we followed you through college, you might have a case open for maybe 8 years. That's a long time. But typically our cases are closed when either somebody is not interested in services anymore, is no longer making progress, or ideally, when they've got a job, they're working and they're doing well. Our services aren't meant to be open forever, but if we close a case, it's never a negative thing. People can always come back for services again, and that happens quite a bit. So maybe someone graduates, they're ready to go into the workforce, we help them get a job, they're doing well, we close. Maybe in a couple years, they're ready to come back and go to college, or they want to move up in the job that they're at and they need some assistance, we'd be happy to work with them again. Okay, so this gets into a little bit more of the details about the programs and partnerships of OOD. And I'm going to go through them on the next few slides. You can go ahead and go to the next one. Employment First is collaboration between our agency and the Departments of Developmental Disabilities. Like I had mentioned before, we work with them quite a bit. This expands the supported employment services for individuals with disabilities. So this can look well, what it often looks like is assistance with transportation through the Board of DD and long-term jobs on the job supports. So somebody that might be checking in on an individual throughout their career to make sure that they're doing well at work and have the things that they need. Work incentives planning is for individuals who have chosen not to work in the community. Maybe they're working in a different type of environment where it's not competitive and integrated. We will meet with them occasionally to make sure that that's still what they want to do and offer opportunities to work in the community if they'd like to try that. Um, Ohio Transition Support Partnership, OTSP. This is a collaboration between us and the Department of Education. So again, our services can start as young as 14 years old, and these particular services go through the age of 21. Anybody that is receiving services from an IEP is eligible for this partnership, and they still have to meet the typical OOD criteria. Um, we serve so many schools throughout Ohio. Most local schools will have an assigned OOD counselor, somebody that would get the referrals for those schools and work with those students. I mean, we're going to talk more about transition services later too, because I got a lot of questions about them. But it really gives a great opportunity for students with disabilities to engage in career exploration, develop some of those skills at a younger age. We can do lots of different types of work experiences while they're in school. We can teach all about different career options and really try to set students up for success before they graduate. That's our goal, would be if everyone was referred at maybe 14, 15 years old, I think they'd be in great shape because we would get so many opportunities to do work experiences with them before they're technically an adult. Okay, next. Okay, one sec. Okay, Ohio College to Careers. It's a newer program. It started in 2019, and we have collaborated with so many schools around the state of Ohio. The point of this was to put OOD counselors like myself on college campuses, and they are able to be there in person with people who are experiencing college for the first time and provide additional career exploration and counseling, assistive technology, assistance with getting internships, permanent employment after college, and then part-time jobs while they're in school as well. And then we do have an employer partner network that I'm going to talk about in a little bit too. I had mentioned before that I have students on my caseload at like Kent State, University of Akron. We have counselors at those schools as well, but they're pretty busy right now. And then we have counselors all over. We have people at Ohio State, at Bowling Green University, all over the state. It's a very exciting program. Okay. OOD Jobs for Recovery is another really great collaboration. So this allows individuals that are in recovery for drug and alcohol use, different addiction services, to get connected to an OOD counselor. That OOD counselor can attend court hearings and help the person. They try to be supportive in their recovery process and try to help them find employment along the way and hopefully not be involved with the courts in the future. So they're part of these very supportive drug court teams. Okay. Personal care assistant program. We help individuals with severe physical disabilities with ADLs or activities of daily living to help them either get training for employment, seek employment, or maintain employment. This program is also very interesting because it allows people with disabilities to hire their own personal care assistant to help them be able to work. So it could be helping them like get dressed for work, providing transportation, feeding, helping them with medication. And if anyone is interested in that program, the email's on here. It is a very cool opportunity for individuals who might need these things. Okay, we can go to the next. Thank you. Our business enterprise program enables individuals who are legally blind to be self-employed, and they can purchase and they monitor vending machine operators. These are in federal buildings and roadside rest stops all over the state. We have about 75 individuals who are partaking in this program right now. And this is another cool opportunity for somebody to work for themselves. Um, our last program is independent living for the older blind. This helps people who are older and have visual impairments to be able to stay independent in their homes. Much or this type of question is very hard for you, it's okay to talk about the experience you do have and how you would problem solve. So, maybe I've not really run into a situation like this with an angry customer, but I would try to stay very respectful and get my supervisor to assist me. That's an acceptable answer. And again, if you were working with a job developer, we would practice these types of questions because a lot of employers use them in interviews. Structured interview tips. So I don't know how many of you have run into structured interviews before. The only ones that I have had were for OOD. So it's kind of a unique structure. You're usually interviewed by more than one person, and this type of interview is usually scored. So when you're asked a question, you want to answer it as completely as possible because the people that are interviewing you, they're looking for certain answers and keywords and phrases, and they're writing them down, and that's how you get your interview score. So there's often little to no eye contact because your interviewers are writing your answers down for those scoring purposes. They want to make sure they're being thorough and getting your full answer. This type of interview can also include written assessments. So, like, I've had to do an example email before, or perhaps a computer test, and they're looking to see how you fit the position that you're applying for. This is a very unique type of interview, but again, a job would assist you in preparing for something like this. Um, Questions. Oh, I see one in the chat. Who pays for OOD services and how does it work? Well, that's a good question. I should have mentioned that. OOD services are free. So they're free for you as the participant, and they are paid for by tax dollars. So part of our funding is from state dollars, and then a lot of our funding is from federal dollars. So that is how the services are paid for. You would not owe anything for working with us. Working with our agency is completely voluntary and does not cost a thing, which is pretty cool. Any other questions?